Hello everyone, this is Fine from Awesome Gaming Pro. I hope you all are well. Today I'm going to talk about the two TV, the Sony Bravia 7 left side, which is a mini LED TV, and the right side LG C4 OLED, which is traditional type of OLED TV. If you see this two TV, the LG C4 OLED is much better than the Sony Bravia 7 QLED. The LG OLED panel delivers much deeper in-care blacks in a dark room with no distracting blooming or haloing around bright objects. LG also has a wider viewing angle and much better reflection handling, so even though the Sony is a lot brighter, the LG looks better in a bright room. And both offer a great selection of gaming features, but the LG supports up to 4K 144Hz gaming on all four of its HDMI inputs, compared to Sony's support of 4K 120Hz on just two inputs. So the LG is a more versatile choice. This LG C4 is amazing for most uses. If you are a console or PC gamer, this TV is a fantastic choice due to its advanced gaming features. It has a nearly instantaneous response time for clear motion, which also makes it fantastic for playing video games, but also makes it excellent for watching sports or for use as a PC monitor. If you are new in my channel, then please subscribe and press the bell icon for future notifications and upcoming videos. I have another channel named Tech Gaming Villa, where I upload similar kind of tech videos like TV comparison, sound system, home theater. You can check and subscribe. This LG C4 is suitable for use in a bright room due to its very good HDR brightness and outstanding reflection handling. However, it also looks remarkable in a dark room, thanks to its nearly infinite contrast ratio with the highlights that stand out in HDR content due to its great HDR brightness. The LG C4 wide viewing angle makes it suitable for watching TV with a group, but there's a noticeable green tint when viewed from an angle. On the other hand, if you see the Sony Bravia 7, which is an impressive TV overall, for most users, it truly shines when watching movies or the latest shows in HDR in a completely dark room. Thanks to its high contrast ratio and vibrant colors, games look equally amazing, and it has a huge selection of gaming features. It's less well suited to certain users when watching shows or sports in a well-lit room, as its narrow viewing angle means you really need to be sitting directly in front of the screen for the best image, and the anti-reflective coating doesn't reduce glare enough to use it in a really bright room. If you see this screw TV's design, the LG C4 has a very sleek and modern design. It's very similar to last year's LG C2 OLED, but the back has a unique stone-like finish. The TV's bezels are incredibly thin, so you barely see them while watching. On the other hand, the Sony Bravia 7 has a sleek premium design that looks great in any room. It has thin bezels on three sides with a slightly thicker bottom bezel that has a brushed metallic finish. If you see this two TV's picture quality, the LG C4 has remarkable contrast and nearly infinite contrast ratio due to its OLED self-lit pixels. The TV displays bright highlights next to perfect inky blacks, making it very impressive in a dark room. On the other hand, the Sony Bravia 7 has fantastic contrast. The credit should go to its mini LED backlight. The native contrast with local dimming disabled is good, but bumping auto local dimming to high delivers it the best results overall with deep blacks and very bright highlights. The native contrast ratio of Sony Bravia 7 is 57:55:1, and when local dimming high, the contrast ratio increased to 1,400:1, which is very good for mini LED TV. If you see the two TVs blooming, since OLEDs don't use local dimming and instead have individual pixels that can be lit up to their maximum brightness next to pixels that are turned off, there's no blooming when bright elements are surrounded by deep blacks. There's some noticeable blooming around bright highlights on Sony Bravia 7, but it's great overall. It's especially noticeable around subtitles or bright lights in fairly dark scenes. Note that the larger sizes have more local dimming zones, but I don't know how many, as Sony doesn't provide this information. They likely have even better local dimming performance with less blooming than the 55 and 65-inch models. The LG C4 is an OLED and has no backlight, as I said, so its self-pixels give it same performance as a TV with perfect local dimming and no zone transitions. On the other hand, the Sony Bravia 7 local dimming zone transitions are good overall, but there are a few distracting issues. There's no flicker, which is great, but there's a noticeable halo effect as bright object move across the screen. The halo effect gets worse the quicker objects move, as the local dimming can't quite keep up with it. On LG C4, there's no difference in depth scene behavior between the calibrated picture modes and when the TV is set in game optimizer. But on Sony Bravia 7, unfortunately, there's a bit more noticeable zooming around bright objects when you are in the low latency game mode with auto local dimming on high. Zone transition are also slightly more noticeable, but it's still excellent overall. The LG C4 has a great HDR brightness. It gets bright enough for most highlights to pop, but it's not bright enough to properly display very bright highlights. Still, it delivers an impactful HDR experience. Unfortunately, large bright scenes are significantly dimmer than smaller specular highlights due to its aggressive automatic brightness limiter. On the other hand, the Sony Bravia 7 peak brightness in HDR is incredible. It's bright enough to bring out the brightest highlights and flashes of light in most HDR content. The sustained 100% window LG C4 provides 192 CD per meter square. On the other hand, the Sony Bravia 7 is much bright. See the HDR brightness in game mode. The sustained 100% window, 195 CD per meter square for LG C4. On the other hand, 706 CD per meter square, which is much higher on Sony Bravia 7. The LG C4 is noticeably dimmer while in game optimizer. It's still bright enough to provide an impactful HDR gaming experience, but you notice the drop in brightness compared to the TV's other picture modes. On the other hand, the Sony Bravia 7 switching to the low latency game HDR picture mode results in slightly brighter small highlights, but it's not noticeable with most real content. The LG C4 has fantastic PQ EOTF tracking. Some darker shadows and mid-tones are a bit brighter than intended, but the TV tracks the curve very closely. With content mastered at 600 or 1000 nits, there's a very small roll-off to preserve some detail in highlights. With content mastered at 4000 nits, there's a much more gradual roll-off to preserve detail in very bright highlights. On the other hand, on Sony Bravia 7, as is typical for Sony TVs, the TV has fantastic PQ EOTF tracking. Blacks aren't quite true black, but other than that, it's nearly perfect. There's a slow roll-off for content mastered up to 4000 nits, but it clips anything above that. If you see the True TV's HDR brightness, the sustained 100% window LG C4 provides 258 CD per meter square. On the other hand, the Sony Bravia 7 is much brighter, staggering 701 CD per meter square. The LG C4 has a very good HDR brightness. It gets bright enough to handle glare in a bright room, and the TV's automatic brightness limiter isn't aggressive in HDR, so you don't have to deal with the screen dimming considerably when large areas of brightness are present. But the Sony Bravia 7 peak brightness in HDR is superb. There's some variation in brightness with different content, but it's not noticeable with most content. If you see the color gamut of this True TV, they're pretty equal. The LG C4 has an excellent color gamut, just like Sony Bravia 7. It has outstanding coverage of the DCI-P3 color space in most HDR content. Colors are mapped well in the DCI-P3 color space, but all colors are undersaturated and off the mark to some degree. These results are with an aggressive 75% stimulus level. With a more realistic 50% stimulus, color accuracy is much better. The TV has a good coverage of the wider Recon 2020 space, which is increasing in popularity. Colors are more off in the Recon 2020 color space, with cyans and greens being the most off, and all colors are undersaturated. On the other hand, the Sony Bravia 7 has an excellent color gamut. It displays nearly all of the DCI-P3 color space used by most HDR content. Coverage of the wider Recon 2020 color space commonly used for nature, documentaries, and animated content is recent. The color mapping in both spaces is good, but highly saturated colors in Recon 2020 tend to blend together, and there's not much graduation. If you see the color volume, the Sony Bravia 7 is the winner and much better. The color volume is fantastic on Sony Bravia 7, and colors are bright and vibrant, and dark tones are displayed well thanks to the high contrast ratio. On the other hand, LG C4 has a very good color volume. It displays dark saturated colors very well, and its ability to display bright whites is outstanding. It doesn't display other colors as brightly as it does whites, but its still enough to display bright and vibrant colors. But this color volume is not as good as Sony Bravia 7. Which TV you prefer, LG C4 or Sony Bravia 7? Please write in the comments below. That's it from now.